I was chatting with a tech investor recently who was absolutely brimming with confidence about American AI dominance.
Yeah.
He sat there just listing off the heavy hitters, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and he pointed to these massive venture capital numbers, acting like the race was practically over.
Right. The typical Silicon Valley narrative.
Exactly. To him, the fact that we have ChatGPT and, the best chips meant the trophy was already on the shelf. He even waved off China's efforts, joking that they were just copying homework and couldn't possibly catch up.
A common misconception.
Then I showed her a single quiet observation from NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang. I mean, the man actually selling the shovels for this gold rush. And Huang isn't celebrating. He's warning that China might actually win this race.
And that's coming from the source.
Right. And when I dropped the specific numbers on the table, the investor's confidence it completely evaporated. I pointed out that while the U.S. added 51 gigawatts of power capacity last year to run these massive data centers, China added a staggering 429 gigawatts. Then I mentioned that 70% of all global AI patents now originate from Beijing, compared to just 14% from the U.S.
And that's when the reality hits.
The shift in his demeanor was instant. He went from boasting about software margins to just staring silently at the reality of raw infrastructure. It highlighted this huge disconnect. We are so obsessed with who has the smartest chatbot, while the competition is quietly cornering the electricity and the foundational capabilities needed to actually run the future.
And that narrative that focused solely on the front-end application and the latest chatbot, it's missing the core lesson we have to extract from this material. You've really hit on the essence of the matter.
It feels like we're looking at the wrong scoreboard.
Exactly. The true AI race, the one that's going to determine geopolitical leadership and, future economic standards, is not being won by the smartest piece of software alone. It's being determined by the raw physical foundations.
The power of the hardware.
The ability to generate massive amounts of power, the hardware deployed at an industrial scale, and the underlying strategic control mechanisms that coordinate this immense build-out.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We've established that the AI race is fundamentally determined by these physical material forces, the power, the infrastructure, and these strategic control mechanisms. Our mission today is to do a deep dive into the source material here to explore the three strategic pillars that are underpinning this accelerating ambition.
Sounds good.
We're looking first at the massive infrastructure surge, then we'll transition into how that infrastructure fuels a global platform strategy focused on open source diffusion, and finally we'll examine the proactive development of national digital security, which sort of protects this entire ecosystem.
Precisely. The material really forces us to shift our focus from those glossy front-end applications, which are important, don't get me wrong, but they're downstream to the back-end infrastructure that actually sustains them.
It's the plumbing versus the shiny faucet.
That's a great way to put it. Energy, hardware, and deep strategic planning are proving to be the new decisive geopolitical choke points in the race for technological leadership. So we'll start by examining that unparalleled physical foundation being laid, then move to the software ecosystem being exported globally, and finally, look at how the state is using AI to achieve resilience and digital security. It's a full-stack, vertically integrated strategy that we really need to understand.
All right, let's start at the foundation then. Grounding this abstract idea of AI power in reality, moving beyond just the big numbers. I think the perfect entry point is the story of engineer Quen, the one overseeing that massive photovoltaic solar farm in Inner Mongolia.
Yes.
That isn't just an energy project. It's a powerful illustration of the sheer unprecedented industrial scale of this kilowatt arms race.
It truly is. And when we discuss AI infrastructure here, we are not talking about individual corporate decisions about, where to place a new data center. We're discussing state-directed industrial mobilization on a massive, massive scale.
Right.
Leveraging geographic advantage to solve what is probably the world's most difficult compute problem, the energy supply. This is a coordinated national effort.
And that scale, it has to be driven by a clear, long-term strategic timeline. I mean, setting goals for a decade out requires an enormous amount of centralized planning and resource commitment.
Absolutely. And the foundational strategic goal for this was laid out way back in the 2017 Next Generation AI Development Plan. The vision articulated there is explicit, and it has been relentlessly pursued ever since.
What was the core goal?
To achieve a world-leading level in AI by 2025 and become the world's primary innovation center by 2030. And to underpin this ambition, we see this unprecedented national build-out of AI data centers. We're talking about over 250 data centers already built or announced across the country. That's a pace and concentration that, frankly, few other nations can even come close to matching.
That concentration is the key. But what does that mean in terms of actual computing horsepower? It's easy to throw around the term massive, but can we quantify the sheer volume of compute capacity that's being deployed?
We can, and the projections are, well, they're staggering. They show just how much kinetic energy is behind this stratagem. They are far, far exceeding their own initial government targets.
Okay, so what was the original target?
The initial official target for 2025 was set at 105 EFLOP-S of intelligent compute capacity. And for our listeners, EFLOP-S or EFLOP-S stands for 1 quintillion floating point operations per second.
1 quintillion. That number is almost impossible to visualize.
It is. It's the indispensable measure of computational speed required for modern, large-scale AI training runs, the kind that train foundational models like a GPT-4 or comparable systems.
So the kind of computing that takes weeks or months of continuous power.
Exactly. You need EFLOP-S capacity for that. Now, here's the critical data point. Based on announced or operational capacity identified through just mid-2024, projections already show well over 750 EFLOP-S of potential capacity identified.
Wait, 750. The initial target was 105. That's over 7 times the initial target.
7 times!
That's not just exceeding a goal. That sounds like they're aggressively pulling forward a 20-year plan into 5 years.
That's precisely the implication. This discrepancy, it reflects a highly ambitious long-term potential that is currently being built out. It recognizes a core truth about the AI race. Compute is the ultimate, non-negotiable bottleneck.
If you have the compute, you win.
If you have the compute, you can train bigger models, you can iterate faster, and you can attract the best domestic talent. That level of mobilization suggests they are aggressively planning to secure the computational high ground for the next decade.
And securing that compute high ground requires securing an unprecedented energy supply, which brings us perfectly to the key policy driving this physical build-out. The East Data, West Compute paradigm. This is strategic infrastructure planning on a scale we just rarely see in the West.
It is a definitive hallmark of strategic, centralized planning. The policy was formalized in 2021, and it's designed to fundamentally rebalance computing capabilities across the country. Well, the coastal eastern urban centers like Shanghai and Shenzhen, they generate these vast quantities of data needed for training. They also have intensive local computing needs, but they are also constrained by population density, high land costs, and expensive energy.
So they're leveraging the geography of the country to solve the energy and land bottleneck by shifting the heavy lifting elsewhere.
Exactly. The western regions, specifically Guizhou, Inner Mongolia, Gansu, and Ningxia, they possess vast, often underutilized land resources and abundant, low-cost, and increasingly clean energy potential. We're talking solar and wind.
Right.
The strategy shifts the most energy-intensive tasks, like large-scale model training and complex inference, to these western hubs. This minimizes the cost and the environmental impact of that crucial training phase.
We saw in the opening how this industrial scale manifests itself. The U.S. adding 51 gigawatts of power capacity last year, China adding 429 gigawatts, that's where the rubber meets the road. What makes that scale of mobilization possible?
It's possible because of the centralized coordination and the prioritization of national goals over local or immediate challenges. When we look at that 429 gigawatt figure, we are looking at the capacity of the state to streamline the industrial process, to accelerate approvals, and deploy resources without the typical environmental review processes or local political hurdles that often slow infrastructure development elsewhere.
So the energy advantage is real and it's strategic.
It's very real. And the policy isn't a suggestion either. It's mandated. Recent policies mandate that new compute construction in these Western hubs must account for 60% of all new capacity in the country.
60%.
This guarantees the shift occurs and ensures the nation leverages the cost and energy advantages of the West to fuel the AI race.
So that means engineer Quen in Inner Mongolia, overseeing that massive solar farm, he's not just installing green energy. He's fulfilling a national strategic goal, turning desert wind and sun into the raw, intelligent compute power that the entire nation's AI future relies on.
Absolutely. The energy is the foundation. And beyond just rebalancing where the power comes from, the strategy innovates in how they use the hardware itself.
What do you mean?
The policy emphasizes the integrated use of different compute types to maximize efficiency and capacity, especially in the face of ongoing constraints on accessing the very latest, most advanced AI chips.
How does that integrated compute strategy actually work in practice?
Well, policymakers are promoting the integrated use of 3 defined compute types. It's to prevent bottlenecks and maximize the utility of the resources they have.
And what are the 3 types?
You have general computing, which uses standard CPUs for day-to-day data processing and less demanding tasks. Then you have intelligent computing, which relies on AI chips and GPUs for that intensive parallel processing necessary for foundational model training.
Okay.
And finally, supercomputing, which excels at processing large-scale scientific or specialized data sets.
So instead of relying solely on obtaining huge quantities of high-end NVIDIA GPUs, which are, subject to external controls, they are making their existing and domestically produced hardware work harder by efficiently allocating tasks across this trio of systems.
That's the strategic insight. By optimizing and balancing the demand for intelligent computing across these resources, they ensure continuous progress and avoid putting all their computational eggs in one basket. This integrated approach, formalized in policy documents, is a creative and highly effective way to manage compute scarcity while still pursuing those ambitious EFLOP-S goals.
And that forward-thinking innovation, it extends even to the physical placement and engineering of the data centers. We see an incredible example of this optimization with the Quen Subsea Intelligent Computing Center.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
It is a truly fascinating case study in optimizing physical design for extreme efficiency. The Quen Center is the country's first underwater AI computing facility, located 30 meters beneath the waves. This setup isn't just an engineering marvel, it's an economic strategy.
Give us the performance stats on that center. What's it capable of?
The facility boasts a substantial processing power of 2,000 PFLOPS, or petaflop-S. That's a quadrillion operations per second.
A quadrillion.
And while that feeds into the larger exaflop goal, the key benefit of submerging the facility is operational efficiency. It enhances computing power efficiency by a remarkable 40%.
40% efficiency gain just from putting it in the ocean. How does that work?
It achieves this significant gain primarily by leveraging natural cooling from the surrounding seawater. This drastically reduces the massive energy demands and the associated costs of traditional cooling systems you see in onshore data centers.
And cooling is a huge expense.
It's one of the single biggest operational expenses and energy drains for any hyperscale data center. By eliminating the need for complex, power-hungry chillers, they realize huge gains. Now, questions remain about the scalability of deploying hundreds of these subsea units globally, but as a proof of concept and a symbol of engineering capability, it is extremely powerful.
So we see the massive infrastructure being built, the strategic location planning with East Data, West Compute, and the innovation in physical design. But the state is also clearly driving the software ecosystem through financial incentives and targeted policy. This isn't just about hardware.
Absolutely not. It's a comprehensive top-down strategy spanning both hardware and software. Local governments are providing significant non-hardware support to foster rapid AI software and application development.
Like what, for example?
We see direct financial incentives. For example, in Shenzhen, companies producing cyber regulator-approved AI models can receive funding up to $1.4 million. This is designed to rapidly onboard new players, de-risk foundational model development, and just accelerate the pace of innovation at the application layer.
And they are focusing on practical results right out of the gate using a framework called scenario innovation. That's a concept that probably needs to be fully defined for the listener.
Scenario innovation is a crucial element here. It ensures that the technological output meets immediate societal or industrial needs. Instead of just passively waiting for startups to invent consumer apps, government agencies devise specific, real-world, publicly backed scenarios in critical fields, like healthcare or optimizing manufacturing supply chains or increasing efficiency in municipal services. And then companies compete to develop tailored AI solutions for those scenarios.
Can you give us a tangible example of one of these scenario challenges?
Sure. Think of it like a national prize competition. The Ministry of Health might propose a challenge. Develop an AI model capable of accurately predicting annual influenza outbreaks in 3 major metropolitan areas based on anonymized real-time data. Companies then compete to build a model that solves that exact real-world problem.
So the technology developed immediately addresses a practical national need.
Exactly, and it promotes deep institutional adoption right from its inception. Furthermore, the government is subsidizing private sector AI utilization through significant model vouchers. We're talking up to $13.7 million, making it financially feasible for smaller companies to access large, cutting-edge AI models while ensuring the foundational model developers get compensated for their work.
And finally, there is a serious, deliberate push on the most fundamental ingredient that fuels the entire machine: the data itself.
High-quality labeled data is the lifeblood of AI training, and the policies reflect an aggressive focus on enhancing data quantity and quality, particularly for Chinese language models. Local governments are tasked with collating high-quality, labeled Chinese language and multimodal data.
Because they recognize that domestic models need a clean, massive training set specific to the linguistic and cultural context.
Precisely. Beijing, for instance, is incentivizing crowdsourced data annotation projects to break through labeling bottlenecks and accelerate the creation of these specialized datasets. Furthermore, they're strategically encouraging the use of overseas data through specialized zones like the Greater Bay Area Data Zone,
creating controlled environments for processing and leveraging international data flows.
Exactly. All these elements, from the megawatts in Inner Mongolia to the curated gigabits of labeled data, demonstrate a comprehensive, multi-pronged, nationwide effort to support the robust growth of the entire AI industry.
That wraps up the physical foundation, but that massive engine needs a vehicle. The infrastructure fuels the platform, and the platform drives global adoption and influence. Right. I think the story of Ramirian, the Indonesian developer, illustrates that vehicle perfectly.
Yes.
He suddenly has access to these world-class tools that bypass the high cost and complexity of Western licensing. This is where sheer engineering excellence becomes a deliberate strategic export policy.
Yes, the story of RIN is key because it shows the mechanism of market disruption. You have open source, affordable, and locally optimized models that are instantly leveling the playing field for developers all across the world,
bypassing the need for those expensive Western licenses.
Exactly. This isn't just selling a product. It is exporting an entire technological ecosystem and setting the terms of engagement for new global markets.
Okay, let's dive into the technical details of that platform strategy. It seems to rely heavily on achieving technical excellence coupled with an irresistible cost leadership position.
The commitment to advancing an open-source ecosystem is presenting a formidable, high-quality alternative to proprietary Western models. We see proof of technical excellence in models like Alibaba's Quen 2.5 coder.
That's their coding model, right?
Right. It's focused on code generation and development tasks, and it has demonstrated competitive performance, even outperforming leading Western proprietary counterparts like GPT-4 and Claude 3.5 Sonnet on key coding benchmarks. This is crucial.
It dispels the narrative that these models are just catching up.
Exactly. They are developing world-class, state-of-the-art systems that are functionally competitive right now.
But the real strategic masterstroke here seems to be the pricing disparity. If the models are functionally competitive, then the massive price difference just accelerates adoption in price-sensitive markets. It must be creating new market opportunities where Western models were simply unaffordable.
It creates an almost irresistible economic incentive. It effectively disrupts the market from the bottom up. Consider the comparison. Quen 2.5 is priced at 20 cents per million tokens.
20 cents.
Compare that to GPT-4's price of $4.40 per million tokens.
That's a difference of 22 times.
22 times?
That's not just a competitive discount. That's almost predatory pricing designed to foster immediate adoption.
For a startup in Jakarta or Lagos or Buenos Aires, that's not a choice between two models. That's a difference between profitability and bankruptcy. It allows them to innovate locally without the heavy financial burden imposed by proprietary Western licenses.
It creates an immediate dependency and comfort with that technological stack.
Exactly. And this open source strategy is not accidental. It's policy-driven and actively leveraged through national infrastructure initiatives.
How does the government actively promote this global diffusion? What are the mechanisms of export?
Well, Chinese firms are actively utilizing the Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, and the Digital Silk Road, or DSR, to create powerful government-backed distribution channels for technology worldwide. The DSR, in particular, links physical infrastructure, new fiber optic cables, data centers built abroad, satellite networks directly to the software ecosystem.
So it provides immediate high-speed delivery channels for these open source models into nations that are already partnered with China on infrastructure projects.
Precisely.
Can you give us a sense of the scale of that global push through these established channels?
The scale is immense, and it's specifically targeted. Alibaba Cloud alone has released over 100 open source models in 29 different languages.
100 models.
The strategic intent is clear. Flood global markets with these accessible, high-performing models to embed Chinese technological standards into the world's most critical infrastructure backbones. This is particularly focused on areas like financial transactions, manufacturing operations, and communications infrastructure.
So by becoming the standard, they shape future technological norms.
They do. This diffusion sprint is policy-driven. It aims to position data and technological standards as strategic resources and ensure that these core systems align with the national values that underpin their development.
You know, this feels like a rerun of the strategy we observed years ago with 5G technology, establishing dominance through rapid deployment and aggressive pricing before Western nations could effectively respond and build competitive alternatives.
The playbook shares distinct, highly effective similarities by making much of its AI technology freely accessible and incredibly cheap, especially when paired with existing DSR physical infrastructure. The goal is to hardwire their systems and standards into critical global infrastructure.
It's coordinated action between government and industry.
It is. It's meant to rapidly reshape the global technology landscape and reduce reliance on Western platforms. And you see the effect. When 16% of companies surveyed in price-sensitive markets indicate they would switch to Chinese technology if U.S. options became more expensive due to regulation, you realize that pricing disparity is a huge lever for strategic influence.
And underpinning this entire platform push is the sheer volume of intellectual property being generated, which brings us back to that staggering patent dominance we mentioned in the opening. The 70% figure.
We have to pause and fully appreciate the implications of that commanding lead in global AI patents. 70% of all global AI patents now originate from Beijing compared to just 14% from the US. This is not just a statistical curiosity, nor is it a measure of who invented the first chatbot.
It's a long-term indicator.
It is a clear long-term indicator of the national priority placed on AI research and development, particularly in foundational infrastructure and application methods.
So what does a 70% share in patents mean strategically, say, 10 years down the line?
It means control. Control over future technological standards and a powerful position in global litigation and licensing wars. Patents secure the long-term roadmap of a technology. By dominating the patent landscape, they ensure that vast swaths of future AI applications, from chip design to specific algorithms for industrial processes, will require licensing or interaction with Chinese-developed IP.
And this is supported by explicit government policies.
Absolutely. Policies that encourage AI companies to go out into international markets and attract global talent. The state recognizes that long-term technological leadership is secured through patents and the global standards they enable. It's about locking in their dominance for the future.
Moving now to our third and final pillar, securing the digital domain. We've discussed the engine, which is the infrastructure, and the vehicle, the open source platform. Now we look at the armor, the protection. Stability and digital security are viewed not as an optional addition, but as absolute prerequisites for a fully digitized society. The scenario of the cybersecurity analyst, Leah, using an autonomous AI agent to defend critical infrastructure really drives home the idea that state-of-the-art national defense capabilities are a necessity here.
That perspective is crucial, and it's deeply embedded in their strategic planning. As a nation aggressively digitizes its critical infrastructure, its massive power grids, national traffic control systems, advanced manufacturing facilities, financial networks, the surface area for digital attack just grows exponentially.
So stability and resilience become paramount.
They become paramount strategic goals. And to understand how they protect this massive investment, we need to examine the robust legal and regulatory framework that both facilitates and controls this defense.
Okay, let's start with the foundational legal framework. What are the rules of engagement for the digital world?
The foundational piece is the cybersecurity law, which was enacted back in 2017. It firmly established the principle of cyberspace sovereignty.
Cyberspace sovereignty.
This concept legally reinforces state control over the digital domain, treating the internet and national digital infrastructure as a sovereign territory, much like a physical border. The law mandates stringent data localization requirements for network operators, compelling them to store all critical data within the country and cooperate fully with national security organs when required.
And we know this legal structure is continually evolving to keep pace with the hyperspeed of AI development.
It is a very dynamic process. Recognizing the transformative potential and, well, the potential risks of large models, an amendment to the cybersecurity law was approved in October 2025. It explicitly addresses AI-related governance and development. This continuous legal refinement ensures the framework remains relevant as the technology advances.
And the mandates are prescriptive on content, too.
Very prescriptive. Generative AI tools are legally required to promote core socialist values and prevent the dissemination of any content deemed harmful to public order or national security.
So that mandate on core socialist values means that technology itself is ideologically molded, ensuring alignment with national stability goals.
Yeah.
It's technology development with a predefined ethical and ideological boundary.
That is precisely the intention. It establishes an ideological and functional foundation for technology development and for stability. The regulatory framework establishes state control over the digital domain, viewing digital space as a sovereign territory that must be actively managed and protected from both external and internal destabilizing forces.
And this imperative directly informs the second aspect of this pillar: proactive defense and resilience.
Right.
How does that proactive defense manifest in real-world application?
The strategic plan focuses heavily on enhancing national digital security by developing advanced AI specifically for protecting critical infrastructure. We're moving beyond simple firewalls into autonomous defense systems.
Yeah.
The government is focused on building early warning mechanisms for AI safety monitoring and radically improving safety prevention systems that encompass human oversight, advanced technology deployment, product standardization, and management protocols.
So this takes us directly to the operational environment of analyst lie, where human analysts are supported or potentially replaced by these cutting-edge AI defense agents.
Yeah.
What kind of threats are they aiming to prevent?
The intention is to create forward-thinking prevention and guidance systems to ensure the stability and security of essential societal systems against digital threats, whether those are state-sponsored attacks, criminal efforts, or even internal system failures.
So you're talking about AI agents constantly monitoring power grid load, distribution, traffic flow, financial market anomalies.
Exactly. Identifying threats often too subtle or too fast for human analysts alone. This level of autonomy requires deep integration between commercial AI developers and national security priorities.
And this commitment to security is structurally integrated into the AI development ecosystem through the powerful concept of military-civil fusion.
This is the strategic mechanism that ensures commercial success also serves state resilience. The new generation AI development plan calls explicitly for the fusion of civilian and military AI capabilities to achieve an all-element, multi-domain, highly efficient new pattern of civil-military integration.
What does that mean in practical terms?
The practical meaning is that commercial AI development is legally and structurally designed to directly support and be supported by military and security applications.
So in essence, the commercial logistics AI developed by a private firm for optimizing warehousing, it must be designed so that its core algorithms and datasets can be immediately optimized and repurposed for, say, military supply chain management. The state gets dual-use R&D for free.
That analogy captures the spirit perfectly. The integration is structural, ensuring efficiency and resource optimization. And we can look at several concrete examples of these dual-use AI products being developed by state-linked companies.
Let's hear them.
First, there is the Quen public safety model, which received approval from the cyber regulator. This model integrates advanced generative AI capabilities into public safety applications. It's incorporated into mobile physical products that are claimed to aid in advanced warning, intelligence analysis, and even intelligent interrogations.
So a direct, powerful application of generative AI to state security and public order management.
It is, and it's being actively developed and adopted across the internal security sector. Then we have military-specific platforms that illustrate the depth of AI integration into defense strategy, like the Tianji military model platform.
Really?
This platform claims to support more than 70 application scenarios with 8 capability systems. This includes critical operations like counterattacks, ambush missile defense, and sophisticated intelligence data management. It serves as a one-stop AI platform intended to enable multi-domain joint combat operations across land, sea, air, space, electromagnetic, and cyber domains.
This ambition aligns perfectly with that observation noted in an editorial in the PLA Daily, the intent to trade computing power for time. They are leveraging AI to compress the decision-making cycle, creating a more flexible and efficient combat system.
Precisely. And another dual-use example illustrating this fusion concept is XSimverse, developed by Beijing Huarui Technology. This is a next-generation military AI large model that supports 25 AI-driven military applications.
What kind of applications?
Things like intelligent command decision-making, virtual training, and digital experimentation. And critically, the model is fully integrated with the commercial DeepSeek large model, demonstrating that symbiotic relationship between cutting-edge civilian research and defense application.
That integration is the key takeaway. It proves the fusion concept is operational, a commercial model underpinning military simulation and high-level decision support.
And we see this structural integration clearly reflected across the entire supply chain and infrastructure stack that we discussed earlier. Analysis shows that dozens of AI data center stakeholders, including key companies and research institutes responsible for building the physical infrastructure in the Western provinces, are registered suppliers to defense industrial complexes or the military.
So it's a clear, direct integration across the commercial and security stacks.
Exactly. It ensures that the entire AI build-out serves national security and defense planning goals. The development of AI for public safety and defense is seen as essential for maintaining absolute stability and order in a rapidly digitizing society.
We've covered a remarkable amount of ground today, moving from the sheer industrial scale of power generation in Inner Mongolia all the way to autonomous digital defense agents patrolling critical infrastructure. This deep dive has really revealed that the AI competition isn't primarily a chaotic startup battle won by venture capital.
No, it's not.
It's a full-stack, state-coordinated effort. This is a unified strategy that seamlessly connects the power generation in the Western provinces to the low-cost, open-source models deployed in Southeast Asia, all secured by a robust legal and defensive structure.
What we have observed is a highly coordinated, three-dimensional national strategy designed not just for competition, but for long-term technological dominance and global influence.
Let's quickly synthesize those dimensions one last time for clarity.
Sure. First, the industrial foundation. We detailed the strategy to achieve massive scale and energy superiority through a state-directed infrastructure build-out.
Exemplified by that rigid East Data West compute policy and the unprecedented 429 gigawatts of power capacity additions.
Right. The sheer physical scale, the hundreds of data centers and the projected 750-plus EFLOP-S capacity, it creates a bedrock that guarantees future compute availability.
Second, global penetration. This is about leveraging the technical excellence and open-source strategies, that 20 cents per million tokens model, to drive mass adoption and embed national technological standards globally.
And doing so by utilizing established infrastructure channels like the Digital Silk Road. This is about shaping the next generation of global technological norms.
And third, digital sovereignty.
This is the proactive framework designed to ensure national security and internal stability through robust legal mandates, the continuous development of state-of-the-art AI for critical infrastructure defense, and the deep structural integration of the military-civil fusion strategy.
This comprehensive long-term approach, supported by immense state mobilization capacity, is positioning the country to achieve its goal of becoming a global technology leader, reshaping the future technological landscape far beyond what current chatbot performance scores might suggest.
It really does.
It forces a fundamental reevaluation of the race dynamics. It forces us to consider that while some might focus entirely on high-end chips, the real competition is cornering the market on geothermal cooling, state-controlled data pipelines, and low-cost open-source software. It suggests that while some nations are fighting one kind of technological competition, others may be playing an entirely different game, one focused not just on today's chatbot, but on owning tomorrow's entire digital foundation.